What's up everyone, and welcome back to the Bold and the Beautiful 24 official channel. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button today. Let's get started. As Brooke reaches her emotional breaking point, Lee goes to the last place you'd expect. Ridge reportedly overruled Nick's plans to take Brooke on a romantic boat ride. The exes take a gorgeous ride across the water to Capri, the tune Unforgettable playing. Fun fact, no other soap has the production values of Bold and Beautiful or location shoots. It is true that the narratives that are being told against those circumstances are, shall we say, lackluster. But Don Gade, if watching these scenes, didn't immediately leave me wanting to call my travel agent. At the location of the fashion show, Eric takes a moment to tell Ridge what he saw last night, Brooke and Nick smooching, and warn that his son is about to lose the woman everyone else knows is perfect for him. When Ridge confronts Brooke about this, she basically tells Ridge, "Hey, at least someone's trying." Anybody else notice that these scenes were clearly filmed not on location but in the studio and on the old Bikini Bar set, if I'm not mistaken? But enough with Brooke and Ridge's game of push me, pull you. It's time for a fashion show. Strangely, it is being held in a restaurant, and nobody seems to be paying any attention to the models or their outfits. However, the setting is stunning. It all leads to Brooke strutting her stuff as the crowd goes wild. Brooke modeling in Italy. Bold recap: Sheila wants answers. Watching over a slumbering comatose Luna, Lee vows that she's not going to let her niece-grandchild die. Sheila is also berating Deacon about not knowing where Luna was buried at the same time. She has tried to get a response from Lee, but neither her calls nor her texts have been answered. When the two of them were at Il Giardino and Lee announced that I had handled it, why didn't she inquire further? Bold Beautiful Sheila Lee Il Giardino. Lee enters shortly thereafter to pick up her takeout. Somehow, she acts annoyed to see Sheila, at the place in which she works and lives. Is there no other restaurant in Los Angeles, a small town? One where people can go rather than patronize a woman who has attempted to kill them? In any case, Sheila practically begs Lee to let her visit Luna, wherever she's been buried or her ashes spread. Lee, however, remains tight-lipped. She probably doesn't even give Sheila a tip. Brooke loses it all. The press demands that Brooke and Ridge, the king and queen of fashion, pose for pictures together after the show. Before scurrying off, Brooke becomes increasingly uneasy, and Ridge is on the prowl. Beautiful and bold Nick Eric of Italy. Nick's boat repairs are still not finished, but his Italian friend manages to arrange an alternative. He drives to the location of the fashion show in an unusually large but very cool car. He stops a stranger when he gets to town and asks where the fashion show is. Nick rushes to the fashion show, where he meets a furious Eric who tells him that the sailor isn't welcome for some reason that the rando knows exactly where it is. Beautiful and bold Brooke. Ridge in Italy overlooking the ocean. Ridge catches up with Brooke, who's had as much as she can take. "Everybody is happy to see us together. But the problem is that we aren't together," she says, acknowledging that the whole on-off cycle is making her insane. "Imagine how we feel, girl. I can see how much you love me every time I look at you, but you are too stubborn and stupid to admit it." He responds that he doesn't like seeing her this way and asks her not to go. "I can't stay here," she sighs, only for him to say she can't leave. As the sun glistens over the Mediterranean and the sea sparkles like a jewel under the Italian sky, Brooke Logan finds herself drowning not in water, but in a storm of emotions that have been building for years. She's not just in Capri, she's at a crossroads, and it's not the picturesque beauty of the Amalfi Coast that has her breathless, but the unbearable weight of her own heartache. Everything began to fall apart, both on the surface and within, as soon as Ridge overruled Nick's carefully planned romantic boat ride. That ride started out as a chance for Brooke to see Nick again and maybe experience something new, safe, and solid, but it quickly turned into yet another reminder that her past won't let her go. Instead of floating toward new beginnings, Brooke ended up stuck in the same emotional purgatory she's known for decades, a triangle that's grown exhausting, not just for her but for everyone watching. The boat ride still happened, sure, but it wasn't with Nick. Unforgettable served as the soundtrack to a moment that felt more eerie than hopeful when Ridge swept in, took control of the fantasy, and forced it into a repetition of what had been. Brooke was barely able to keep her composure in the face of the stunning scenery. Her smiles at the reception were polite, her laughter hollow, her gaze always drifting toward the horizon as if she were searching for a way out rather than a way forward. Before the fashion show, Eric pulled Ridge aside to tell him about what he saw the night before Brooke and Nick kissing. Eric is one of those people who never misses the emotional undercurrents. The kiss was more than just a kiss. It was an act of rebellion and a spark of Brooke's desire for something other than Ridge. Ridge's ego could barely contain the fury that was brewing within him, despite Eric's most fatherly warning that he was about to lose the woman that everyone knew was meant for him. When he finally confronted Brooke about it, her answer cut deeper than he expected. She said, calmly but with a bitter truth, "At least someone is trying." The implication was clear. Ridge, with all his flip-flopping and endless indecision, had never truly fought for her, not in the way she deserved. And it might not just have been a kiss with Nick. Maybe it was a desperate grasp at being seen, at being prioritized, at feeling like more than just a beautiful accessory to Ridge's emotional whims. Even though the scene was shot in a studio rather than in Italy, Brooke's breakdown was real, unfiltered, and devastating. Then came the fashion show, the centerpiece of the trip, the shining moment meant to distract from all the emotional chaos, but it didn't. The show, which was held in what appeared to be a restaurant, lacked the pomp and energy of previous Forrester showcases. No one was really paying attention to the clothes or the models, and the room buzzed more with whispers about Brooke and Ridge than with fashion commentary. It was beautiful, yes, but surreal, like everyone was pretending that everything was fine when nothing was. And then, as if on cue, Brooke herself walked the runway. Dressed impeccably and carrying herself like a goddess, she strutted through the space with a fire that almost masked the pain behind her eyes. The crowd went wild, but Brooke barely registered the applause. She was frantically emotional, sprinting to maintain the flawless, always recovering performance that she had been expected to deliver all her life. After the show, the press swarmed, demanding shots of Ridge and Brooke, the king and queen of fashion, united once more. But Brooke couldn't take it anymore. She smiled, posed, then made her escape. While this high-drama tale unfolded on the Italian coast, an equally intense and far more chilling storyline was building back in Los Angeles, one that would deliver a twist no one saw coming. At the hospital, Lee Finnegan moved like a ghost through the corridors she once ruled. Finn, her son, noticed her odd behavior immediately. Carrying a box and mumbling vague answers about taking a break, Lee's explanation for her sudden leave of absence didn't sit well with him. She claimed that "I just need some time," citing burnout, grief over Luna's death, and Poppy's betrayal. But her eyes told another story, one of guilt, of burden, of a secret too big to contain. She brushed off Finn's questions with well-rehearsed lines, promised to rest, and disappeared, saying only, "There's something I need to take care of, something I should have done a long time ago." Lee's next destination? Not a beach or a spa or even her home. She went to a hidden room in an unknown location, possibly a private residence or even a forgotten wing of the hospital, and stepped into the shadows with a mystery box. There were medical supplies inside. Luna was also lying still and pale behind a curtain. Not dead. Buried, not cremated, but not alive, in a coma. And Lee had kept it a secret. Luna's death had broken the world. Finn had cried. Poppy had spiraled. But Lee had kept her niece hidden away from all of them, trapped in a coma, kept alive through a cocktail of machines and quiet desperation. Lee made a promise to Luna while standing over her. She wouldn't let Luna die. But why the secrecy? Why the isolation? Was it guilt for what she had done? Was she trying to play God, giving herself a second chance to fix a life she'd broken? Or was there something else more sinister going on, like a power play, a punishment, or a last-ditch effort to control the chaos that their family was in? Meanwhile, back at Il Giardino, the ghost of the past Sheila Carter hovered restlessly. Deacon was trying his best to keep her grounded, but Sheila was unraveling. She questioned why no one could provide her with straight answers as she demanded information regarding Luna's death and burial. Sheila might not be wrong for once, as her gut told her something wasn't right. When she crossed paths with Lee at the restaurant, a bold choice given Sheila's history of attempted murder, she practically begged for a sliver of information. But Lee stayed silent, stoic, dismissive. Even as Sheila pleaded to know where Luna had been laid to rest, Lee gave her nothing. The exchange was tense, strange, and filled with unspoken truths. Lee's silence was the loudest scream in a world where everyone talks too much. Back in Capri, the final blow landed. Nick, desperate to salvage his own romantic plans, finally got access to a different boat and drove to the fashion show's location, only to be met by Eric, who was furious. The Italian townsperson Nick, flagged down, somehow knew exactly where to send him, which raised its own questions, but that didn't matter now. What mattered was that Brooke had vanished after the show, and Ridge was already one step ahead. He found her on a terrace overlooking the ocean, the sound of waves crashing below barely audible over the sound of her heartbreak.